Tuesday, November the 4th. I'm doing the fishing report a day early. I'm going to head down the Arkansas River to fish for a few days. But lake level is about 9-11 and a half. It's come down a few inches. Water temperature's come down about 4 degrees. It was about 64 degrees today when we was out. Actually, the bite was pretty good. We didn't go out till about 10:30. Buddy and I went out. We fished from 10:30 to 1:30. Had 10 keepers and probably 8 or 10 shorts. Everything we caught today was shallow. It was a beautiful day. It was kind of overcast. The clouds were in and out. We had pretty good wind. And like I talked about last week, whenever that water temperature starts to cool down, a lot of them fish will start to move up shallow, and they're moving up right now. Everything we caught, the boat was never out of 20 foot. Pretty much all we threw today, because we had such good conditions, was a wigglewort and a spinnerbait. And I think we probably missed the best bite, because like I say, we didn't get on the water till 10:30. We caught them on a wigglewort for about the first hour and a half, and it seemed like they got off of the wigglewort, and we started catching them on a spinnerbait. Now, the wiggleworts I'm throwing, this one's a Fall Creek lure. It's a custom painted one, but just about anything in a crawdad pattern. We threw a couple different kinds to see if they'd bite one better than the other, and it really didn't seem to make much difference on the color. It was more the location where we was throwing it. Now, some of the fish we caught on main lake points. A lot of the key was we was looking for where the wind was coming in. A lot of it was on secondary points, but almost everything was about the same as far as where we caught the fish. We didn't get bit down any straight stretches of bank. Every place we got bit, there was either a point or a little cut or the side of a point. And usually whenever we caught one fish, there was a couple in the same area. Most of the fish were smallmouths and largemouths. I think we had one Kentucky out of about 20 fish. So, like I say, the blacks and the smallmouth are moving up, and that should just continue to get better. Now, the spinnerbait I was throwing, I pretty much always throw a screaming eagle. And you don't have to throw a war eagle spinnerbait to get bit. But what works so good about this bait, it's got small blades, just like what comes on a 1/4 ounce bait, and it weighs a 1/2 ounce. So you can cover a lot of water, and basically that's what we were doing, just putting the trolling motor down and covering as much water as we could. It's good about the way this bait's set up. You can, burn it real fast. The bait won't roll over. Now, most of the fish we caught today were probably on the spinnerbait. Were probably 5 foot or less. We didn't get any bites around docks. They were the same as the wigglewort fish. They was either on the points or just on the sides of it. And we actually had to drop the bait down about 3 or 4 feet. The lake's got, in a lot of different places, the lake is turning over. It hasn't got a real nasty looking color yet, but it's got a little bit of off color, a little bit of stain. It's not near as clear as it had been 2 weeks ago. I'd say probably further upriver, the water's going to look a little nastier. You're going to see some brown, but don't be afraid to fish in that stuff. Especially in the fall. I don't think that turnover is that big a deal. A lot of people will take and shy away from it. We kind of like it because with the water being stained, the fish will be up there shallower. And as far as on the colors of the spinnerbait, that first one I showed you was a blue heron. This one here is I think it's called purple shad. And then the mouse is just really hard to beat too. And today I wasn't even throwing a trailer hook. Now if I was fishing a tournament or something, I'd have had a trailer hook. But the way most of the fish were biting it today, I didn't need a trailer hook with. There was a couple times I'd get a fish that would push the bait, and as I was reeling it, I'd just stop, pause my retrieve for just a second, and the fish would load up on it. So they were putting the bait away pretty good today. Now if you get a day where you don't have as good of conditions as what we had, I'm sure you can still get bit early on the spinnerbait and crankbait, but if it slicks off and you got no wind, a couple of the different ways you can catch them. We did catch a couple fish around some boat docks. And, normally I'm always throwing a jig, but I was messing around a little bit today, just throwing a tube on 1/4 ounce jig head, just a green pumpkin tube. And these fish were 5 foot or less. They were on the shore side of the docks, underneath the walkways and from the back of the dock, to the bank. Now, even if it slicks off, I don't think you'll have to fish much deeper than 10, 12, maybe 15 foot in them boat stalls. And, a lot of times I say, I'm catching them on a jig around them docks. Well, that's primarily what I like to throw, but there's a lot of different ways you can catch them. You can catch them like on that tube, you can catch them on a shaky head, just any type of bait. It's got crawdad color, brown, green, a little bit of orange. The crawdad's got a lot of orange in them. But if the sun was up, I would just key on the shaded stalls or the shaded side of the dock. I haven't seen too much as far as much topwater action. And even today when we was getting bit, we didn't see too many of them little shore minnows. But a lot of the places we got bit, you could see there was some isolated boulders, a little bit of rock transitions. We didn't get bit very much on just bare flat gravel. A lot of these points and cuts that we were catching them off of usually had some deep water fairly close. But like I say, the boat, never got out to 20 foot. I pretty much kept the boat 15 to 20 foot. Depending on the bank, we'd either parallel it and 45 it, or if it was a little bit flatter bank, we'd, set way back off and make a cast, to the bank. Now, we were in the Kimbling City area, and I had some reports that some guys have been catching them real good up in the White River between Baxter and Campbell Point on the same way we caught them today. Now, a good place to try too, especially once the sun gets up, you might get up into the river arms. The lake should be a little further ahead as far as turning over, so there'll be a little bit more color up in there. So on a slick day, I'd still try the spinnerbait and the crankbait. If that doesn't work, slow down and fish a jig. And another place you can also try is, on the bluff banks, especially if it's real slick and no wind. If you can't catch them on a crankbait, then slow down and throw a shaky head or a small jig. Just stair step it down them bluffs. Shouldn't have to fish it very deep. I wouldn't mess around with much more than 10 or 12 foot deep. And that should continue, and there should be more fish moving up into that depth range. So, till next week, good luck, good fishing.